Greetings, stellar viewer, and welcome to another ASMR video. In this video, my focus will be on bedtime stories, with a twist in my regular strange ways. Because the majority of my content focuses on extraordinary and strange tales, I have this book here that I will be reading out of. You can expect some very interesting and far-out stories. However, the majority of the video will not have visual aspects to it. On a previous post of mine, Astronomy Facts from A to Z, I had the night sky with twinkling stars and not much else. And I got some really good feedback on that video, and I decided that I would try to implement more of that here onto my YouTube. So this book has chapters of very interesting and far out things. We will adventure to Atlantis and Stonehenge. We will talk about the Bermuda Triangle and D.B. Cooper. Also the story of the Loch Ness Monster, UFOs, and Area 51. This series will be for anyone who likes strange things. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing and leave a comment below if you are interested in me doing a longer version of this series. All the links will be below if you are interested in going further out with me on my other platforms. Thank you for watching, enjoy, and have a stellar day. Greetings, stellar viewer and listener. Welcome to the very first story I will ever tell. Read from The Unsolved Mysteries, Bizarre Events That Have Puzzled the Greatest Minds by Joel Levy. In this book, there are a range of topics, from mysterious places to unsolved events, strange sightings, and cryptic artifacts. I hope that you are sitting comfortably. As I read from this book, we will first begin with the story of Atlantis. Atlantis. Plato's tale, supposedly of ancient Egyptian origin, tells of a lost island empire in the Atlantic, believed later by pseudo-historians and mystics to be the cradle of all civilization. Atlantis was a great island beyond the Straits of Hercules, home to a rich and glorious kingdom that became an empire before perishing in a flood sent as a divine punishment for hubris and corruption. Since Plato first told this tale 2,500 years ago, Atlantis has been imagined in every corner of the globe and ascribed mystical attributes from telepathy to flying cars. It has become a repository for every aspect of New Age thought and alternative history, juxtaposition, from hollow earth flying saucers to environmental doomsday prophecies. The original source for Atlantis is the writing of ancient Athenian philosopher Plato. In two dialogues, Timaeus and Critias, probably written in the 4th mid-century BCE, Plato describes that the story had come to him via a chain of descent from the ancient Athenian poet, statesman, and lawgiver Solon. While traveling in Egypt in 590 BCE, an Egyptian priest had shown Solon a column upon which the tale was
earthly and human gifts imaginable, including natural bounty, rich mineral wealth, powerful armies, and great wisdom and learning. Atlantis grew greedy and overbearing. Her armies conquered deep into Africa and threatened Europe, resisted only by the brave Athens, until Poseidon grew angry and visited destruction upon the land he had created. There occurred violent earthquakes and floods, and in a single day and night of misfortune, the island of Atlantis disappeared into the depths of the sea, for which reason the sea in those parts is impassable and impenetrable, because there is a shoal of mud in the way, and this was caused by the subsidence of the island. Plato's tale is dramatic and detailed, but without evidence. He places Atlantis in the 10th millennium BCE, near the start of the Neolithic era in conventional history, when agriculture was just beginning. People lived in small groups, rarely settled for long, built small perishable structures and used stone, wood, bone, and antler. Yet the Atlantis and Athens described by Plato are clearly high Bronze Age societies with bronze arms and armor, ocean-going ships, great cities, and monumental architecture. There is no conventionally accepted evidence of a civilization even approaching the level described by Plato until the 4th millennium BCE at the earliest. But what if the evidence is all around us? What if we have but the wit to see it? In the 19th century, Atlantology, the study of Atlantis, significantly evolved to what might be called the proto-scientific stage, in which Atlantis scholars sought to bring together contemporary fashions in science, archaeology, and anthropology. Proto-scientific Atlantology was the brainchild of the American politician, journalist, and amateur historian, whose 1882 book, Atlantis, was a massive bestseller and radically transformed perceptions of Atlantis forever. Donnelly, the writer, saw the evidence for Atlantis and similarities between distant cultures. Wide civilizations on either side of the Atlantic share features such as pyramid building, sun worship, and myths about great floods, he wondered. Donnelly argued that they all shared a common source, an unoriginal or your civilization, from which all others had sprung, either through colonization or relocation after natural disaster. This theory, known as diffusionism, still forms the central tenet of much pseudo-history and Atlantology today. Like Plato, Donnelly located this original civilization in the Atlantic Ocean, pointing to the Azores and Canaries and the Crete undersea mountains recently discovered by oceanography expeditions as remnants of a lost continent which had sunk in a cataclysmic event of the type then current in geological thought. It is now known that the ocean floor is dense basalt, while the rocks that make up the continental land masses are relatively light and less dense. So it would be impossible for a continent to, quote, sink into the ocean as Donnelly described. Geological advances have shown that seamounts like the Azores and the Canaries are not remnants of sunken continents, but volcanic mountains created by local hotspots of magma welling up through the ocean floor. Proto-scientific Atlantology gave way to a new stage, revisionist Atlantology, which argues that Plato's account is not to be taken literally, but refers to a prehistoric super-civilization unknown to present-day historians. Atlantologists have since sought Atlantis in almost every corner of the globe. Amongst many contenders, one of the most notable revisionist candidates is the Minoan settlement on Thera, now Santorini, in the Mediterranean, destroyed by a colossal volcanic eruption around 1500 BCE. Like most plausible readings of Plato's Atlantis, however, it is that he made it up. For inspiration, Plato needed to look no further than Helic, about 100 miles or 160 kilometers to the west of Athens, which in 373 BCE was submerged by a huge earthquake and tsunami. Helic had been leader of the powerful Archaean League with a great temple to Poseidon. It disappeared literally overnight when Plato was about 54, and it seems inconceivable that he did not think of it when writing about Atlantis 17 years later. Donnelly's work coincided with the growing popularity of the mystical movement, notably Theosophy, an eclectic blend of Oriental mysticism, spiritualism, and pseudoscience. Atlantis proved fertile territory for the mystical imagination, sparking the development of new mystical phase in Atlantology, using methods such as astral travel, past life memories, and communications with ethereal spirits. Exciting new revelations about Atlantis and other lost continents poured forth. Atlantis became linked in the popular imagination with mastery of paranormal powers such as telepathy and occult technology. Today, many aspects of this mystical Atlantology survive in the contemporary New Age thought, with themes such as survival of the Atlantean spirits inside modern people, parallels between the ecocide of the ancient Atlanteans and modern capitalist consumerist society, and the availability of Atlantean-style superpowers with the right sort of vibration. Thank you for listening to